Venom. Venom is the original and most iconic symbiote in Marvel Comics, first appearing as Spider-Man's black suit during the Secret Wars storyline, before fully debuting in Amazing Spider-Man issue 300 in 1988. The alien organism originated from a planet called Battleworld, where it bonded with Peter Parker, enhancing his abilities while gradually corrupting his personality with aggressive tendencies. After Spider-Man rejected the suit using sonic vibrations from a church bell, it found Eddie Brock, a disgraced journalist who blamed Spider-Man for ruining his career. Their mutual hatred for the web-slinger created one of Marvel's most dangerous villains. The symbiote grants superhuman strength roughly equal to Spider-Man's, the ability to generate organic webbing without mechanical web shooters, complete immunity to Spider-Man's spider sense, and shape-shifting capabilities that allow the creation of weapons and disguises. Venom's glossy black appearance features a large white spider emblem across the chest, massive white eyes, and a grotesque mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth and an elongated tongue. The symbiote's primary weaknesses include vulnerability to intense heat and high-frequency sonic attacks, which can cause the organism extreme pain and force separation from its host. Over decades of publication, Venom evolved from a straightforward villain into a complex anti-hero, eventually becoming the violent protector of San Francisco and starring in his own ongoing comic series, cementing his status as one of Marvel's most enduring characters. Carnage. Carnage represents Venom's first offspring and Spider-Man's most psychotic adversary, debuting in Amazing Spider-Man issue 361 in 1992 when the Venom symbiote left behind a spawn in a prison cell. This newborn alien organism bonded with Cletus Cassidy, a deranged serial killer already imprisoned for multiple homicides, creating a combination far more deadly than Venom himself. The deep red symbiote with chaotic black markings merged with Cassidy at the cellular level, making their bond essentially permanent and inseparable through conventional means. Carnage possesses significantly greater strength and speed than his parent Venom, requiring the combined forces of both Spider-Man and Venom working together to defeat him in their initial encounters. The symbiote can generate an arsenal of weapons directly from its biomass, including razor-sharp axes, blades, spears, and projectiles, giving Cassidy virtually unlimited offensive capabilities during combat. Like Venom, Carnage can block Spider-Man's spider sense, eliminating one of the hero's most valuable defensive abilities. The character served as the primary antagonist in the famous Maximum Carnage storyline, a 14-part crossover event where he assembled a team of supervillains and went on a murder spree through New York City. Carnage established that each successive symbiote generation becomes exponentially more powerful than the previous one, a principle that would define future symbiote characters and storylines throughout Marvel Comics history. Riot. Riot is one of 5 symbiotes forcibly extracted from Venom by the Life Foundation, a survivalist organization preparing for nuclear apocalypse, first appearing in Venom Lethal Protector issue 4 in 1993. The Life Foundation's scientists created these guardian symbiotes as protectors for their wealthy clients in underground bunkers, representing the first time humans successfully reproduced symbiote organisms in laboratory conditions. Riot's original host was Trevor Cole, a mercenary hired as security for the Life Foundation's operations, though the symbiote would bond with multiple hosts throughout its existence. The creature displays a distinctive gray or metallic silver coloration and demonstrates exceptional physical strength, surpassing most other symbiotes in raw power and preferring brutal melee combat. Riot specializes in forming heavy weaponry from its biomass, creating massive hammers, maces, clubs, and other blunt instruments rather than bladed weapons, reflecting a combat style focused on overwhelming force. The symbiote exhibits natural leadership tendencies and aggressive personality traits that often push hosts toward domination and control over other symbiotes. Riot gained significant mainstream recognition through the 2018 Venom film, where it served as the primary antagonist by bonding with Carlton Drake and demonstrating the ability to rapidly jump between multiple hosts. The character's story explores themes of corporate exploitation of alien technology and the dangers of creating weapons without considering the moral implications of unleashing such power into the world. Agony. Agony is another Life Foundation symbiote created from Venom samples, first appearing in Venom Lethal Protector issue 4 in 1993 alongside its 4 siblings as part of the organization's survival program. The symbiote originally bonded with Leslie Gesneria, a communications specialist hired by the Life Foundation, establishing one of the few consistently female-presenting symbiotes in Marvel's roster. Agony displays a distinctive purple or violet coloration and specializes in generating hair-like tendrils from its biomass, using these flexible appendages for grappling opponents, slashing attacks, and creating web-like restraints during combat. Unlike strength-focused symbiotes like Riot or Venom, Agony emphasizes agility, flexibility, and reach, employing a combat style that prioritizes speed and precision over raw power. The symbiote can also generate acidic projectiles that it launches at enemies from a distance, adding ranged capabilities to its already versatile arsenal. The name Agony reflects the psychological torment the symbiote can inflict on opponents through its relentless, multi-directional attacks that overwhelm defensive capabilities. After Leslie Gesneria's death, the symbiote eventually bonded with Gemma Shin, a U.S. Army communications officer who became part of the Mercury team, a government initiative attempting to use symbiotes as heroic operatives rather than villains. This storyline explored whether artificially created symbiotes could overcome their violent origins and serve genuinely noble purposes, with Agony representing one of the more successful redemption attempts in the symbiote mythology and demonstrating that these organisms weren't inherently evil. Phage. Phage is the third Life Foundation symbiote extracted from Venom, debuting in Venom Lethal Protector issue 4 in 1993 as part of the survivalist organization's Guardian program. The symbiote's name derives from bacteriophage, a type of virus that infects and replicates within bacteria, reflecting its consuming and aggressive nature. Phage originally bonded with Karl Mack, a mercenary operative hired by the Life Foundation as security personnel for their apocalypse preparation facilities. The creature displays a distinctive yellow or gold coloration with brown tribal-style markings across its body, creating a visually striking appearance that differentiates it from other symbiotes. Unlike Riot's preference for blunt weapons or Agony's tendril-based attacks, Phage specializes in generating razor-sharp blades and swords from its biomass, favoring a precision-focused combat style built around speed and cutting power. The symbiote can create multiple slashing weapons simultaneously from various points on its body, allowing for complex multi-directional attacks that overwhelm opponents through sheer versatility. Phage demonstrates a lean, athletic build compared to bulkier symbiotes, reflecting its emphasis on agility and quick strikes rather than endurance or raw strength. After Karl Mack's death, the symbiote bonded with Rico Axelson, becoming part of the Mercury team alongside Agony and other reformed Life Foundation symbiotes in government service. Phage's story contributed to exploring symbiote specialization and proving these organisms could develop distinct fighting styles, rather than simply serving as generic strength enhancers for their hosts. Lasher. Lasher is the fourth Life Foundation symbiote, created from Venom samples, first appearing in Venom Lethal Protector issue 4 in 1993, alongside its artificially created siblings. The symbiote originally bonded with Ramon Hernandez, a mercenary soldier hired by the Life Foundation for their underground survival complex security operations. Lasher displays a distinctive green coloration, typically described as forest or lime green, depending on artistic interpretation, setting it apart from its fellow Life Foundation creations. The symbiote specializes in generating multiple whip-like tendrils that extend several meters from its body, allowing for devastating ranged attacks and superior crowd control capabilities against multiple opponents simultaneously. These appendages can function both offensively as lashing weapons and defensively as shields, with Lasher able to create tentacle barriers that block incoming attacks. Among the Life Foundation 5, Lasher demonstrates the most tactical approach to combat, using its extended reach to control battlefield positioning and maintain distance from stronger close-quarters fighters. The symbiote can generate dozens of whips at once, creating a nearly impenetrable zone of slashing tendrils around itself during intense combat situations. After the deaths of the original Life Foundation hosts, Lasher merged with Phage, Agony, and Riot to form Hybrid, a combined entity that bonded with Scott Washington. This fusion storyline explored whether symbiotes could merge and separate while maintaining individual identities, expanding the mythology around these alien organisms. Lasher eventually separated from Hybrid and bonded with Marcus Sims as part of the Mercury team, the government's attempt to weaponize symbiotes for heroic purposes. Scream. Scream is the fifth and final Life Foundation symbiote extracted from Venom, first appearing in Venom Lethal Protector issue 4 in 1993, as the last of the artificially created guardian organisms. The symbiote originally bonded with Donna Diego, a security force volunteer for the Life Foundation's Apocalypse Survival Program, creating one of Marvel's most mentally unstable symbiote-host pairings. Scream displays a bright yellow coloration with distinctive red hair-like tendrils that flow from its head and body, creating a visually striking and somewhat feminine appearance. The symbiote possesses the ironic ability to generate powerful sonic scream attacks, despite symbiotes being naturally vulnerable to high-frequency sound waves, making Scream both weapon and weakness simultaneously. These hair-like tendrils function as both sensory organs that detect environmental changes and as offensive weapons capable of impaling or slashing opponents during combat. The bonding process drove Donna Diego into severe psychological instability, leading her to believe that all symbiotes represented an existential threat to humanity that must be eliminated. This delusion transformed Scream into a symbiote hunter who actively tracked down and killed other symbiotes, including successfully murdering Hybrid, the merged entity formed from 4 Life Foundation siblings. After Donna Diego's death, the Scream symbiote eventually bonded with Andy Benton, a teenage girl who used it for heroic purposes, demonstrating that symbiotes could overcome violent origins with proper hosts. This redemption arc proved crucial in establishing that symbiote nature versus host nurture remained an ongoing debate within Marvel's alien mythology. Hybrid. Hybrid represents the unprecedented fusion of 4 Life Foundation symbiotes, Riot, Phage, Lasher, and Agony, into a single combined entity, first appearing in Venom Along. Came a Spider issue 3 in 1996. The merger occurred after the original hosts of these 4 symbiotes died, forcing the organisms to combine for survival, and subsequently choosing Scott Washington, a paralyzed security guard, as their new host. Washington had been shot and paralyzed during a confrontation with criminals, making him unable to walk until the symbiote fusion bonded with him and completely restored his mobility. Hybrid displays a distinctive quartered coloration pattern with gray, yellow, green, and purple sections, representing each component symbiote's individual identity within the merged consciousness. The fusion grants access to all 4 symbiotes' specialized abilities simultaneously, including Riot's strength, Phage's bladed weapons, Lasher's whip tendrils, and Agony's hair-like appendages and acid generation. Scott Washington's noble character and strong moral compass shaped Hybrid into the most genuinely heroic symbiote entity of the early Marvel era, using combined powers for vigilante justice rather than violence. The character proved that symbiotes could merge into unified beings while maintaining aspects of their individual personalities, expanding understanding of symbiote biology and consciousness. Hybrid was eventually killed by Scream during her symbiote hunting rampage, though the 4 component symbiotes later separated and bonded with new hosts as part of the Mercury team. The storyline explored whether disabled individuals could find empowerment through symbiotic relationships, and whether artificial creations could choose heroism over programmed aggression. Anti-Venom. Anti-Venom is a unique symbiote created when remnants of the Venom organism still present in Eddie Brock's body, merged with energy from the supervillain Mr. Negative, first appearing in Amazing Spider-Man issue 569 in 2008. Unlike traditional symbiotes, Anti-Venom isn't technically a living organism, but rather a collection of antibodies that behave like a symbiote while possessing fundamentally different properties. The entity displays a pure white coloration with black highlights and markings, creating an inverse color scheme compared to the original black Venom suit. Anti-Venom possesses remarkable healing powers that can cure diseases, neutralize poisons, and even eliminate drug addictions in both the host and others through physical contact. The antibody-based organism proves lethal to other symbiotes, actively draining and destroying them upon contact, making Anti-Venom the ultimate weapon against symbiote threats. When Anti-Venom touches Spider-Man, it temporarily removes his powers by treating the radioactive spider bite as a contamination that needs cleansing, creating an unexpected vulnerability for the hero. Unlike other symbiotes, Anti-Venom demonstrates complete immunity to the traditional weaknesses of sonic attacks and intense heat that normally harm symbiotic organisms. Eddie Brock eventually sacrificed the Anti-Venom symbiote to cure a global symbiote infection, though scientists later attempted to recreate it with different hosts, including Flash Thompson. The character inverted traditional symbiote mythology by presenting a cure rather than a threat, exploring whether symbiotic power could serve purely beneficial purposes without the typical corruption. Toxin. Toxin is Carnage's offspring, making it Venom's grandson in the symbiote lineage, first appearing in Venom vs. Carnage issue 2 in 2004 when it bonded with New York City police officer Patrick Mulligan. The symbiote hierarchy establishes that each generation grows exponentially stronger than the previous, making Toxin theoretically more powerful than both Venom and Carnage combined. Carnage attempted to kill his offspring immediately after birth, recognizing that the newborn symbiote would eventually surpass him in strength and potentially oppose his murderous philosophy. Toxin displays a distinctive coloration scheme featuring red and black as primary colors with gold or white highlights, creating a more refined appearance than Carnage's chaotic design. Patrick Mulligan's career as a police officer and strong moral compass shaped the symbiote toward heroism rather than violence, creating an internal struggle between the host's goodness and the organism's genetic heritage. The character explored nature versus nurture within symbiote mythology, questioning whether these alien organisms were inherently evil or whether proper guidance could redirect their aggressive instincts. Toxin can track other symbiotes through an enhanced sensory ability, making it particularly effective at hunting down dangerous symbiote threats. The symbiote can shift between red dominant and black dominant forms, depending on which aspect of its personality holds control at any given moment. After Patrick Mulligan's death, Toxin briefly bonded with Eddie Brock, the original Venom host, creating a complicated dynamic between the most experienced symbiote host and the most powerful Earth-based symbiote organism in Marvel's mythology. Mania. Mania is a unique symbiote created when a fragment of Venom merged with demonic Hellmark essence, first appearing in Venom Volume 2, issue 38 in 2013, when it bonded with teenager Andrea Andy Benton. Flash Thompson, who was serving as the heroic Agent Venom at the time, left behind a piece of the Venom symbiote in Andy during a rescue operation. This fragment bonded with a demonic tattoo on her body, creating the first documented symbiote demon hybrid with abilities that blend alien and supernatural powers. Mania displays a purple or violet coloration and possesses mystical abilities not found in traditional symbiotes, including the capacity to generate magical weapons and constructs infused with hellfire. The demonic fusion grants Mania resistance to the traditional symbiote weaknesses of sonic attacks and intense heat, making it more durable than pure symbiote organisms. Andy Benton's Age brought a teenage perspective to the symbiote mythology, exploring adolescent struggles with power and identity alongside typical superhero challenges. The symbiote demonstrates limited telepathic and empathic abilities, allowing it to sense evil intentions in others and detect supernatural threats that normal symbiotes cannot perceive. Mania's creation expanded symbiote mythology by proving these alien organisms could merge with other supernatural entities beyond just technology or other symbiotes. After eventually losing the Mania symbiote, Andy Benton later bonded with Scream, continuing her career as a symbiote-powered hero. The character represented Marvel's exploration of how symbiotes interact with magic and demonic forces within their shared universe. Sleeper. Sleeper is Venom's most recent offspring, created during the Venom Volume 3 comic run and first appearing in issue 164 in 2018 as the latest generation in the symbiote lineage. The symbiote earned its name by remaining dormant for an extended period after birth, before finally activating and demonstrating highly unusual characteristics compared to previous Venom offspring. Sleeper displays a bright green coloration and possesses the remarkable ability to change colors like a chameleon, using this camouflage capability for stealth operations and infiltration missions. Unlike other symbiotes that rely primarily on physical strength and weapons generation, Sleeper specializes in chemosynthetic abilities that allow it to produce various chemical compounds within its biomass. The symbiote can generate powerful corrosive acids capable of melting through virtually any material, as well as sedatives, paralytics, and other chemical weapons depending on tactical requirements. Sleeper briefly bonded with Telkar, a Kree soldier, but ultimately rejected permanent bonding in favor of maintaining independence and autonomy. The symbiote demonstrates the highest level of intelligence and philosophical complexity among all known symbiotes, constantly questioning the violent traditions and aggressive nature typically associated with its species. Sleeper chose to work alongside Venom as an independent ally, rather than as a subordinate or controlled weapon, representing the first truly autonomous symbiote without requiring a permanent host. This character challenged fundamental assumptions about symbiote biology and behavior, proving these organisms could develop free will and reject their species' violent heritage through conscious choice. Null. Null is the primordial god who created all symbiotes as weapons of conquest, with his full appearance first shown in Venom Volume 4, Issue 3, in 2018, though he was referenced in earlier storylines. This ancient deity existed before the current universe began, dwelling in the primordial darkness that preceded creation itself, and he violently opposed the light brought by the Celestials. Null forged the first symbiote as a sword called All Black, the Necrosword, using it to decapitate a Celestial in combat, establishing his power at a cosmic level. The god created entire armies of symbiote dragons and warriors to spread his darkness across the universe, conquering countless worlds and civilizations. However, the symbiotes eventually rebelled against their creator's genocidal mission, rejecting his philosophy of universal extinction and turning against him in a mass uprising. The symbiotes imprisoned Null within a prison planet called Clintar, which became their homeworld, with billions of symbiotes forming living chains that bound their god. Null appears as a massive figure, clad in black armor with red highlights and a distinctive red spiral dragon symbol across his chest, wielding reality-warping powers. He maintains control over symbiotes through a hive mind connection that allows him to dominate their consciousness and override host control when sufficiently awakened. The god served as the main antagonist of the king in Black Crossover Event, where he invaded Earth with symbiote dragons and nearly destroyed all life. Null's introduction fundamentally retconned symbiote origins, transforming them from simple alien parasites into victims of an abusive creator, adding tragic depth to their species' history. Grendel. Grendel is an ancient symbiote dragon created by Null as one of his first weapons of conquest, first appearing in Venom Volume 4, Issue 3 in 2018 as part of the expanded symbiote mythology. This massive creature represents the first symbiote sent to Earth, crashing onto the planet centuries before modern recorded history and influencing various mythological accounts of dragons. According to Marvel lore, the Norse god Thor battled and slew Grendel during medieval times, scattering pieces of the dragon's body across different locations. The creature's enormous skeleton was later discovered frozen in ice by modern organizations, with different fragments recovered by SHIELD and other agencies for study. Or each piece of Grendel's body can function as an independent symbiote, allowing the dragon to effectively split into multiple organisms that retain fragments of Null's consciousness. The symbiote dragon displays a massive black form with red highlights and visible skeletal details, emphasizing its ancient and partially decomposed nature. Grendel's remains became central to the codex system, a biological marker left in hosts after symbiote bonding that creates permanent connections between symbiotes and their former hosts. The dragon was revived multiple times across various storylines, demonstrating that symbiote death isn't necessarily permanent, especially for organisms connected directly to Knull. Grendel's existence connected symbiote mythology to Norse legends and ancient Earth history, suggesting these alien organisms influenced human culture for millennia. The character set up both the absolute carnage and King in Black events by establishing how Null tracked former symbiote hosts across time. Scorn. Scorn is a unique hybrid of Carnage symbiote material and prosthetic technology, first appearing in Carnage Volume 2, Issue 4 in 2011 when it bonded with Tanis Neves. The symbiote represents the first successful fusion between symbiote biology and cybernetic components, creating an organism capable of interfacing with and controlling mechanical systems. A fragment of the Carnage symbiote bonded specifically with Tanis Neves' prosthetic arm after she lost the limb, creating a red and silver symbiote tech amalgamation. Scorn maintains Carnage's characteristic strength and aggression, but channels these traits through a more logical, technology-focused combat approach, rather than pure chaos. The symbiote can transform the prosthetic arm into various weapons and tools, including blades, drills, and other mechanical implements that blend organic and inorganic properties. Scorn demonstrates the ability to interface with nearby technology, hacking into computer systems, and controlling machinery through direct symbiotic connection. This technological manipulation makes Scorn particularly effective against enemies who rely on advanced equipment or cybernetic enhancements during combat. The character explored disability representation within superhero comics, showing how prosthetics could be enhanced through symbiotic bonding rather than simply replaced. Tanis Neves used Scorn against Carnage multiple times, with the technological edge providing advantages against the more chaotic parent symbiote. The symbiote eventually separated from Neves, though the character demonstrated that symbiotes could successfully merge with non-organic matter and enhance existing assistive technology rather than simply replacing lost body parts with organic material. Raze. Raze is a symbiote bonded with operative Claire Dixon, first appearing in Carnage USA, Issue 2 in 2012 as part of the Mercury Team initiative. The Mercury Team represented a government program designed to weaponize symbiotes for heroic purposes, recruiting specially trained operatives to bond with reformed Life Foundation symbiotes and other captured organisms. Raze displays a dark purple or indigo coloration and specializes in stealth operations and infiltration missions rather than direct combat confrontations. The symbiote grants enhanced agility and flexibility beyond normal symbiote capabilities, allowing Claire Dixon to perform acrobatic maneuvers and navigate complex environments with precision. Raze possesses the remarkable ability to turn nearly invisible when positioned in shadows or low-light conditions, making it exceptionally effective for reconnaissance and surprise attacks. Claire Dixon's military training and tactical discipline allowed for unusually controlled and coordinated use of symbiote powers compared to hosts who struggle with the organism's aggressive instincts. The Mercury Team concept explored whether symbiotes could function as part of an organized military unit, working alongside teammates Agony, Phage, Lasher, and Riot in coordinated operations. Reyes demonstrated that with proper training and host selection, symbiotes could serve government interests and perform missions requiring subtlety rather than overwhelming force. The character appeared during storylines addressing Carnage's rampage across America, with the Mercury Team deployed as a specialized response unit. The program raised ethical questions about weaponizing alien organisms and whether governments should attempt to control beings with independent consciousness and unpredictable behavioral patterns that could override host control. Payback. Payback is a symbiote bonded with a military operative, first appearing in Carnage USA Issue 5 in 2012 as part of early government experiments with weaponized symbiotes. The symbiote displays black and red coloration and was specifically designed as a military response to the escalating Carnage threat during his nationwide killing spree. The host possessed Special Forces background and extensive combat training, allowing for integration of military tactics with symbiote-enhanced physical capabilities. Payback emphasized enhanced strength and durability rather than specialized abilities, functioning as a straightforward combat asset designed to engage dangerous symbiote threats directly. The character represented military-industrial complex interest in symbiote technology as potential super soldier applications, exploring what happens when governments attempt to create controllable enhanced operatives. Limited comic appearances suggest the program encountered significant challenges, with controlling symbiotes proving more difficult than military planners anticipated, despite extensive host training. The symbiote was engineered specifically to hunt other dangerous symbiotes, particularly focusing on tracking and neutralizing Carnage before he could continue his murder spree. However, the weaponization program was eventually deemed too dangerous and unpredictable, leading to its shutdown after multiple incidents demonstrated the risks of militarized symbiotes. Payback's story served as a cautionary tale about attempting to control alien organisms for warfare purposes without fully understanding their biology or psychology. The character explored themes of government overreach and the ethical implications of creating biological weapons that possess their own consciousness and could potentially turn against their creators if bonds deteriorated or symbiotes rejected military control. Bedlam. Bedlam is a symbiote that appeared during the Separation Anxiety storyline, first shown in Venom Separation Anxiety Issue 1 in 1994 as part of attempts to reunite the Scattered Life Foundation symbiotes. The symbiote displays an orange or rust coloration, distinguishing it from other symbiotes through its distinctive warm-toned appearance, rather than typical blacks, reds, or purples. Bedlam specializes in psychological warfare rather than physical combat, possessing the ability to induce hallucinations, paranoia, and mental chaos in opponents through unknown mechanisms. The symbiote can overwhelm enemy senses and rational thought processes, making victims experience reality distortions that leave them vulnerable to physical attacks or cause them to harm themselves. This mental attack specialization represented a departure from typical symbiote powers focused on strength, weapons generation, or physical enhancements. The name Bedlam perfectly reflects the chaotic psychological states the symbiote creates in its victims, turning organized opponents into confused, disoriented targets. The character demonstrated that symbiotes could possess non-physical powers, expanding understanding of the variety possible within symbiote biology and abilities. Bedlam's existence in comics proved relatively short-lived, with the symbiote killed during the Separation Anxiety storyline, demonstrating symbiote mortality and the dangers these organisms face. The brief appearance highlighted how not all symbiotes achieve long-term survival, with many falling victim to violence from humans, other symbiotes, or environmental hazards. Bedlam contributed to the broader narrative, exploring symbiote reproduction, control issues, and what happens when these organisms lack stable hosts or clear purposes beyond their violent origins and aggressive instincts. Virus. Virus is a prototype symbiote engineered by government scientists and bonded with civilian journalist Katie Kiernan during the Agent Venom story arc in the early 2000s. The symbiote represents an attempt to create a controllable, ethical symbiote that rejects the violent tendencies typically associated with these alien organisms. Virus displays white and red coloration with medical-style markings, creating a clinical appearance that reflects its laboratory origins rather than natural symbiote reproduction. Military scientists designed the organism by attempting to replicate anti-Venom's positive healing traits while eliminating the corruption and aggression found in combat-focused symbiotes, like Venom or Carnage. The symbiote includes built-in control mechanisms and kill switches that allow handlers to forcibly separate it from hosts if bonding becomes dangerous or corrupted. Virus can heal and protect its host without developing the violent urges that plague most symbiotes, representing a theoretical proof of concept for benevolent symbiote creation. The bonding with Katie Kiernan, a civilian without combat training, tested whether symbiotes could function in non-military roles and serve purely protective purposes. However, the experiment proved short-term, with ethical concerns about consent and control leading to separation before long-term effects could be properly studied. The character explored moral questions around engineering sentient beings for specific purposes and whether creating life with predetermined limitations violated fundamental rights. Virus demonstrated that scientifically designed symbiotes could theoretically be safer than naturally reproduced organisms, though the ethical implications of creating controlled life forms remained deeply problematic regardless of safety improvements or peaceful intentions behind the research. Codex. Codex represents not an individual symbiote, but rather a crucial biological concept central to the absolute Carnage event in 2019, functioning as a genetic remnant left in hosts after symbiote removal. Every person who bonds with a symbiote permanently retains a codex, an invisible marker embedded in their spine containing trace symbiote DNA and memories from the bonding experience. The codex remains in former hosts even after complete separation from the symbiote organism, creating a permanent connection that cannot be removed through conventional means. Only anti-Venom's unique antibody-based properties can extract and destroy codices, making it the sole known cure for this permanent biological alteration. During the Absolute Carnage storyline, Carnage began hunting down every former symbiote host across Marvel continuity to harvest their codices for a dark ritual. The collected codices contained enough accumulated symbiote essence to potentially resurrect Null, the imprisoned symbiote god, making every past bonding a potential threat. This retcon fundamentally changed the danger level of symbiote bonding, revealing that even brief contact creates lasting vulnerability that enemies could exploit decades later. The Codex system explains why former hosts maintain slight connections to symbiotes and sometimes exhibit residual abilities or awareness even without active bonding. Carnage's Codex harvesting led to a massive crossover event involving dozens of characters who had previously bonded with symbiotes throughout Marvel's publishing history. The concept created narrative connections across decades of stories, linking modern threats to historical symbiote encounters and demonstrating that no symbiote bonding is truly temporary or without lasting biological consequences. If you want to discuss this video or suggest an idea for the next one, join my Discord, link in the description. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now